Today I'm going to be introducing to you the history of autism research. Within this research, I will include how autism was viewed in the early to mid 1900s, concluding with how concepts have changed and adjusted to present-day research. To give you background information, I'm going to give you a brief overview of what autism is in general. First off, let me introduce to you the proper medical name for those diagnosed with autism. It is known in current day as Autism Spectrum Disorder, or ASD. The concept of autism over the last 6 decades has tremendously developed and is still developing today. Now that you have that understanding, let's get into the history. Starting off with the early 1900s, around 1910 to be exact, the word autism was used to describe schizophrenic patients who were self-absorbed and withdrawn. Later on, down the road a few years, psychologist Eugene Bleuler came along and redefined the word as an escape from reality. And as the years go on, the definition continues to morph. With that being said, we are going to stick to the early 1900s for now. You could already predict how those with autism were treated in their society. In this time period, it was assumed if your child had any disability that it was automatically the parents' fault for causing their child to have a disease or be disabled. Genetics were never taken into place, though it was reasonable at the time because they didn't have the technology or advanced thinking to prove otherwise. As you could imagine, children specifically with autism were treated rough and were taken out of their homes by their doctors and placed with new families. This situation became known as the refrigerator mother effect, or the refrigerator mother theory. To support this theory, doctors like psychiatrists or experimental psychologists suggested that children be placed with new families and taken from their home simply because their autism rooted from either one or both of their parents being absent from birth up to the age that they're in. So they thought if they were to pull these children out of their families and place them with new ones, that their behaviors would reverse. Later in the 1900s, about 1943, a doctor named Leo Kanner came along. He had the great idea of putting these children, who were considered mentally retarded at the time, in the same room so he could have the opportunity to observe them and their daily behaviors. While observing, Kanner noticed that these children had a delay in their speech development from others their age. Their social interactions were non-existent. The children also had a difficulty of accepting change, like changes within their environment and changes within their daily routines. While these children also went backwards from skills that they had previously developed. These things that Kanner observed later became known as autism. Sadly, at the time that Kanner had discovered that these children were different and had discovered their behaviors, the treatment system also lacked in development. Not only did the treatment lack in the 1900s, but the culture was also still very stigmatized, and unfortunately the children that were observed within this experiment were checked into mental institutions for life, and they were basically shut away from the public eye. Looking at how autism was previously defined to how it is defined today, there's a tremendous difference between the two. Today, we define autism as a developmental disorder that affects the ability to form regular social relationships and the ability to communicate with others, and a repetitive behavior pattern, or ones with social or emotional problems. As you can see, we've come a long way, especially within the recent years. Today, we know that those with autism have a difference within their neurological development. While unsure of what specific gene is to blame, we know that genetics play a part in autism. Currently, treatments include, but are not limited to, speech, occupational, and behavioral therapy. It is in the present day in which we are living that we are still developing treatments for autism. It is in the present day that we are in the process of discovering, through medical trials, which medical treatments will be most effective. Of course, keep in mind that every human is different and every human needs different treatment. And so it's going to take some time to have treatment develop. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope that you took away something new out of this and learned a little bit more about autism.